Maybe you should go and do some contemplating.
Right reasons, right reasons. Being pretty girl for all the right reasons. Right reasons, right reasons. Being pretty girl for all 4 seasons.
I'm the Bachelorette, and I'm rapping to you poolside. Here to find true love, one man from my
Hi, this is Rachel McElroy.
Hi, this is Griffin McElroy.
And this is Rose Betty's.
This is the fastest we've ever gotten into, we literally just walked out of the living room and just sat down in our studio and just, started shooting this shit. Very casual.
We are going as fast, as furious as possible.
Because our baby has been asleep for 90 minutes, and that means we have, at a maximum, 50 minutes. So we're not going to get a whole podcast done, but that's okay. It seemed to work well last time. I liked listening back at the last episode where I was half drunk at the beginning of it, and then I was very, very, very sober during the back half of it. And it was like that movie Memento, because there's things you missed the first time around. This is a podcast where we talk about The Bachelor and The Bachelorette and The Bachelor in Paradise family of products. And we just watched another episode of the dang thing. And
just a moment ago,
and I've still got that glow. I'm sorry, no, actually, let's put the tiger up on the table and yell at it. The episode ended with a little ditty by Josephine that's kind of still sort of banging around in my head. You know how the first time you saw Hamilton, you just had to unpack it for a bit? Uh-huh. Very similar.
Josephine was not throwing away her shot.
She did not... Well...
A little bit.
Just threw it away a little bit.
A little bit. So this episode begins with the cliffhanger from last week.
In media res, as we say in the entertainment business.
I don't like it.
Well, you don't like Latin? It's the foundation of all the romance languages, so...
It feels a little
Carpe
showy.
diem.
Feels a little showy to
La
me.
vie boheme.
It feels a little showy.
Okay.
So last week, as you'll recall, he confronts Liz and says, I don't think anything's going to happen with us. I think you should maybe go home. Liz says, cool. She leaves. We know this week is going to begin with Nick telling all the other ladies about his rendezvous with Liz.
This is going to be such a huge litmus test for who's down with this show. Because in this situation, the smart thing to do is completely ignore that anything happened and just oh, I don't care about that. How was your day?
Any complicated emotions you might feel upon hearing this
week
news?
3. It is not time for your emotions. It's the 3rd week.
It's best that you stifle any insecurity this may have brought up and just pretend like you just found out that Nick has seasonal allergies.
Yes.
You're like, yeah, of course. Why would I care about that?
Hay fever, whatever.
So it's a cocktail party. So it's extra pressure because he's giving out roses at the end of this party. So the women are extra cool with it.
So most of them are.
Yeah.
I'm so awful with names. We had so much trouble keeping the women straight this episode. I think by the end of it, I have a pretty good handle on everybody. Everybody got a scene this episode, I feel like. But at the beginning of it, I was like, is that Sarah? Is that Whitney?
So you were taking notes at the beginning of this episode. And
let's talk about it right at the top. You want to talk about that first line? Because it's not so much germane that you don't want to talk about it. It's not so much germane to the subject of the episode we just watched, but it's about the Rose Buddies Facebook group, and it's a very important part of both of our lives. I had it open, and I was just kind of lurking throughout the episode, and people were saying some really funny shit about the episode and about Secrets Resort. Is that is that a swingers thing?
I don't know. There were commercials for it during the show. That's why people were talking about it.
Yeah, no, and I know, and it's been on there for the past few weeks. And it's the same one where it's these women talking, and one of them was like, how was your honeymoon? And she smiled, and it shows a bunch of shots of sex stuff. But one of the things is some old ass grandfather clock ass looking keys lowering into a vase, which is kind of like a key party, I guess. Or maybe it's a sex metaphor, it's in North by Northwest when the train goes into the tunnel, you know?
Are we talking about this because this is where you want to go?
Yeah, so anyway, the Facebook group, you moderate all of the entrants. If you enter into the group, you have been personally handpicked by Rachel. She is the fucking sorting hat. And she decides.
We have over 7,000 people, and I would say 98% of them have been approved by me.
And there was a story you told me while I was cooking dinner tonight, because for my wife, Made a little catfish collard greens thing. You told me about a person who tried to join the community, and I feel like this was an edge case, and maybe we should bring it to sort of the tribunal, because it was a person who had started their Facebook account today.
Yeah, just so you know, if you've decided to get back on the book in the past week just to join Rose Buddies, I'm going to be a little suspicious.
It's the only metric we have. This story is fun, but the only reason why we shot this person down out of hand is because they started their shit up today, and like we've had too many people try to sell glasses and jeans on other shit that like we don't fall for that.
Yeah, so it was a picture of a woman, and I was suspicious because her account started today. And then I opened it up, and she had filled out some information.
She filled out a few pieces of information, and her job was she was a taste tester. And you're probably wondering, at Ben and Jerry's or Edible Arrangements? No, her job was this bot that definitely started their account this morning. That's definitely a bot. Their taste tester at Pussy is what the account said. And so I wanted to sort of put that on the table and like get a up or down vote.
So I ignored that request, but I didn't block it. So if you're out there listening,
if you're out there and it was a mistake, please put it forward a second time. We are sorry for putting you on blast. We did not say your name, but it's like this group is important to me, and it's a family, and I want them like if they want like this particular person to be in the group, like go for it. Go ahead and shoot, but they are going to try and sell you discount Ray-Bans.
Okay, so can we get back to the show?
So we're in it now. I'll tell you who was particularly cool about this announcement about the sex stuff was Raven. Raven was like water off a duck's back, man.
Are you sure you're not thinking of... Well, Raven was cool, but we only got a few seconds with Raven.
We only got a few seconds with most of them.
Sarah was cool also.
Mm-hmm.
She ended up talking about her grandparents' relationship. That's like how cool she was. She was just like, yeah, it's fine. And then they ended up talking about her grandparents.
You really do get so little time.
Yeah.
It has to be like it's a big thing that people stress out about, and we kind of watched one contestant sort of collapse under the weight of this consideration during this episode, which is like you really do only get a combined total of maybe 2 minutes per episode, if that, with the Bachelor or Bachelorette, and you need to make that time fucking count.
Yeah, like the secrets are you don't complain, you don't talk about other women, you don't complain about Nick.
No, God, you don't tattle. Yeah, it's like if you have a story to tell about how formative your high school volleyball coach was, this is the time to do it. I don't care that you fucked somebody else. You're a 34-year-old man. Like, who gives a shit?
I think he's
anyway,
actually 36, maybe.
Who care? I don't care how well. Age is nothing but a number. I want to tell you about my high school volleyball coach. He was very important to me.
Yeah. So I guess the only thing that really happens before the rose ceremony is Corinne's big move.
Yeah, this was a confusing one, huh?
So she tells us that all the women are bringing their A game, and she's going to one-up them.
Corinne has a rose, if you'll remember, from the group date.
The group date.
From last episode.
When she took her bikini top off.
Yes, and got
so she says she's going to use her sex charm, which is a direct quote, and then she puts on a trench coat over, like, I guess an underwear set.
It was a confusing strat. I wasn't quite sure what was going on at any time, and I'll tell you why. It's because ABC put the black bar. It was the most unnecessary black bar. The end of this episode ended with a pool party where like everybody was wearing like pretty. Most women were wearing pretty revealing bikinis. Like, go for it, chase your bliss. If that's your, go for it. She was just wearing a trench coat where like a 1/4 inch of side boob was showing, and it was like, no, we can't. The public can't see that.
If I were a graduate student, I would write a whole thesis on how they use the black box to manipulate your impression of the experience.
Because here's the thing.
Because that black box was totally unnecessary. It was just meant to like titillate us.
And not only that, sometimes they do the blur.
Yeah.
In the bouncy castle, I feel like when they were like trying to hide a little bit of the butt, they put some blur on it. Make up your mind. The black boxes, I think they use the black box for comedic effect basically.
Yeah, it's like a little wink
of the time. Yeah. Because they did it for, who's that one poor woman that...
Oh, I feel like her name started with a J. Was it Jade? No, it wasn't Jade.
No.
But I know who you're talking about. The like fitness woman.
Yeah, she was a fitness woman. She told that one really off-color joke during She won a group date, and during their one-on-one time, dude was like, I'm going to send you home now.
Was it about the homeless person?
She said a joke about a homeless person. It was really
I remember
awful.
her.
But it was her, because I feel like that's when it started, is because her butt was, like, I guess, out sometimes.
Yeah, that was the joke
And then she just got
anyway.
100% butt black bar coverage.
So Corinne, not only does Corinne have this, like, you know, sexy outfit under a trench coat, she also has whipped cream, which seems like
It's some Allie Larder shit. Yes, I tried to pull her name while we were watching the fucking episode, and I just crushed it. There's a woman from
Varsity
Blues. I almost said Hill Street Blues. It's a weird. Here's the thing: if you're gonna do this, I want you to eat whipped cream off me. First of all, read the fucking room, Corn, because he literally just had to, like, eat crow and stand up in front of all the women, which he did. He stood up in front of all the women. He's like, I want to be completely transparent here. Me and Liz had sex at Jade and Tanner's wedding. I tried to get her number. She said no. If you have any questions about it, come and ask. I actually feel like Nick handled this basically the best imaginable way that he could.
Well, the only thing that I noticed that was kind of sketchy, like, we know he's telling the truth, or at least as far as we understand the truth, but he eliminated the woman that could corroborate his story. So his whole, I asked for her number and she didn't give it to me, like, for all these women know, could be made up because Liz
Yes,
is gone.
but that would also be a weird look if he was like, Liz, tell everybody the truth. Now go. I feel like that would be
Yeah,
equally.
that would be.
I feel like that would be equally.
Still, though,
strange.
like, he's asking the women a lot to, like, trust his recount of this
But not
story.
only that, Corn, like, you have to understand that, like, Nick's whole spiel tonight is like, I want to approach this with a clean slate, and I don't want anything, like, getting in the way of my journey. And then here you are pulling this, like, kind of, half-assed Hill Street Blues maneuver, and it's just like it's a tonal mismatch. This is, and sure enough, like, it crashes and burns this weird. At first, she, like, fills his mouth up with whipped cream,
Yeah.
and then tries to eat the cream out of his mouth. And at that point, my bones were like,
And then
later.
she sprays it on herself, and she says, "Take it off my boob." And Nick is telling us, you know, he is obviously attracted to her, and that she is good at, quote, stimulating chemistry, but that he's trying to appreciate her while being respectful of the other women. And while this is happening, we're seeing cuts of women crying. I don't think it's related
this is
to
not.
this.
No, it was like every woman in the house found out about this bad Allie Larder impression and just burst into tears. Like, no, that's not how it went
So
down.
Jasmine G finally decides to walk out because this has been uninterrupted. And Jasmine walks out, sees them. It's like, and turns
She doesn't
around.
interrupt them. Nick is like, "Hey, Jasmine, come over here,"
Yeah.
which is what really upsets Corn.
She starts to walk back inside.
yeah.
And then Nick's like, hey, come here. And then she turns around and comes out. And then Corinne instantly feels uncomfortable and runs inside and is like, nothing of my plan happened. She felt so stupid and this was so bad for their relationship. And then she gets in bed and goes to sleep.
Man, Corn is so interesting.
Are you saying Corin on purpose?
Here's the thing. I kept saying Corin and then Corinne, and I was like going back and forth, and then like,
It's Corinne.
no, I know, but she goes by Corn on all her social media profiles, which
okay.
people kept pointing out in the Facebook
So you're
group.
just trying to respect
It's easier to
her.
remember
her
and
wishes.
That's it.
Okay.
Also, it's funny to refer to a human being as Corn.
Okay.
So I'm going to keep doing that. You brought up the comparison between her and
Lace
last episode, and I think I'm a little bit more in your corner now because I really think it's she's obviously at this point like playing a character on TV, right? Like, I think once you start doing the villain role on this show, that is a snowball effect that you can't really bail out of. And like the sheer amount of shit that she does per episode is like, that is dedicated villain behavior, right? But at the same time, she is also a 24-year-old woman with a nanny who like seems like she doesn't know how to interact with anybody socially at all.
I think she's very easily manipulated, which is the same thing I think happened with Lace, where it's these women who have a little bit to drink And then the producers probably suggest behavior, and then they just kind of follow.
Yeah, I
it.
don't even know if drinking like applies to it at all, because I don't know. That's a weird thing to speculate about. I just feel like she's really good at being a villain. Don't get me wrong. I think she's one of the more entertaining villains that we've had on the show in a long time. But I also think she's like weirdly self-conscious and genuinely vulnerable, like not in a way where she's trying to score points. Like she has a kind of a breakdown during one of the dates that didn't seem like she was trying to get the Bachelor's attention, because she didn't like, holler for him to come talk to her while she had a cry in the bathroom. She like genuinely seemed very upset because like she didn't know how to like get attention in that moment, and she started to like second guess herself, and it's like that felt kind of real. So it's not like Courtney, who is just like a fucking Charlie Sheen like tagline soundboard. Like she seems like she's really, I don't know. She seems like she's really uncomfortable a lot of the time.
She's not like a game player like Courtney was, where she like has a real clear strategy and like is steadfast in her approach. She gets these ideas, she executes them, and then if they don't go well, she's pretty much devastated.
I'm really hoping she doesn't take a turn and it being like,
I mean, how could she turn more than
she hasn't
this?
done. I don't think she's done anything nasty. Like, right? Like,
that's true. It's not directed at the other women.
Here's what gives me pause. I'll be straight up. We do a podcast about The Bachelor, Bachelorette. It's a show that gets wicked problematic sometimes. Last season, we talked about, this Rod guy's real fun, and he's really funny, and you know what? He's telling the truth. He's speaking truth to power.
Yeah, no
and then, like, the
kidding.
next fucking episode, it was like, oh, shit, no way.
Well, they did kind of tease next week that Corinne is going to have a confrontation with some of the women.
Yeah, but I mean,
So-
that could still, whatever.
Yeah.
Everybody is having conversations all the time. There's a huge gulf between that and like genuinely like, oh no, she's a piece of shit. I hope it doesn't go in that direction, because right now it's just like, man, she's very good at playing a very, very good character on a television show.
So they have the rose ceremony. Some women go home that I don't really know. Haley is one of them.
Haley's one of them, and I feel like I remember her doing...
Lacey is one of them.
Lacey, I don't...
And then there's a woman in the yellow dress who doesn't get a name.
That's How I Met Your Mother. It was How I Met Your Mother! No, there goes Nick's mother.
Okay.
From How I Met Your Mother. We watched 2 episodes of that, and I feel like you weren't really into it. But I think she had a yellow dress, or maybe yellow umbrella. Yellow was involved somehow.
I don't know. But Astrid, Taylor, Whitney, Christina, Danielle, Rachel, Vanessa, Jasmine, Raven, Jamie, Dominique, Sarah, Alexis, Brittany, Josephine all get roses, in addition to the
That was
women
nothing.
that already had roses
That
from
was just name vomit.
previous dates. Next day.
Here we are.
So Chris comes
That was a
in.
rooster.
Chris comes in and asks the women if they're well rested. Most of them say no. And then he turns to Corinne.
We didn't even talk about Corinne during the rose ceremony.
I mentioned that she went to sleep.
Oh, okay, I missed it. I missed you mentioning it, because that's crazy. I can't think of anybody who's ever still been on the show who just like bailed on the rose ceremony.
What's weird is they like didn't get her. They all kind of looked around like, "Where's Corinne? Where's Corinne's
Nick
not here?"
apologized for her. Nick was like, I'm sorry, ladies.
And they just let her sleep. And then they continue to dub in snore effects
The snore effects are
over
so-
people sleeping, which I just don't believe are true.
It's this show subscribes to some sort of service that gives you like, and it's like $1 a year, and it gives you 20 sound effects, and it's like snore.sfx, moan
Kiss moan.
kiss
Yeah.
moan,
Yeah.
and it's just the same snore that they used for. They use the same snore for
Make out smacking.
Yes, butt smacking. It's the same snore that they would use for like Juan Pablo if they caught him napping during his season. Like, it's just the same snore. It's a gender neutral snore.
Yeah. So she slept through the rose ceremony. So when Chris comes in the next day, he kind of jabs at her a little bit. It's like, Corinne must be rested though, because you got some sleep. It's a fun little Chris.
I wish she owned
Chris
it. I wish
jab.
she was just like, yeah, I got the rose already, and I was tired, and it's uncomfortable. One of the women, I forget who said, was like, nobody wants to be at the rose ceremony. It sucks at the rose ceremony,
Yeah.
but you do it.
So Chris kind of brags on the dates this week. He's like, we've really outdone ourselves. And And this first group date, you're really going to get your mind blown. And I'm thinking, Chris, you're a little cocky coming out here. You're usually not so braggy on these dates. So he leaves the card. The card has Danielle, Kristen, Christina, Whitney, Taylor, Jasmine, and Corinne. And when they go to read the card, it just says everybody, exclamation point. And they're all kind of looking around like everybody. And then the music starts.
It's the BSB. It's everybody's friends. Fucking JC, Tony. Was Lance in that one, or was he in 98? Or in sync? Let me hit you with this.
There was a JC, wasn't there?
JC Chazé, but here's the thing. I can't keep them straight.
There's a Kevin.
Kevin is definitely fucking in Backstreet Boys. And he was very serious. Kevin got one line in this whole episode, and it was like, we're running out of time. You guys need to get it the fuck together.
Is
like,
Nick Carter in Backstreet Boys?
No, babe. Nick Carter was 98 Degrees, I think. Who is your jam of the trifecta? And don't give me some S Club 7 bullshit.
I'm 34 years old. I missed the phenomenon entirely.
Okay, but you have a fucking... Between NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and 98 Degrees.
New Kids on the Block.
Come on, get the fuck out of here. Stop it.
I mean, NSYNC. If I had to pick NSYNC because
I think that's the right answer.
Justin Timberlake is undeniably talented.
Well, and also their songs were better. Although, I don't know. Backstreet Boys had the call. Did you hear the call? Let me tell you the story about the call that changed my destiny. It was about, I guess this woman started to kill all of them. Like in the music video, this woman like called them, and when you got the phone call from the woman, she would fucking kill you. And so you watched all of them die, and that was the last song they did, more or less.
Well, but they're back. They're back now.
But then I have to sing. That's their resurrection ceremony. We watched a documentary about Backstreet Boys.
It's really good.
It's very fucking good because it also talks about their manager who was kind of a sleaze dude, but he also had his fingers.
That's
in
why
like
I thought
every.
Nick Carter, because isn't Nick Carter in that documentary?
I don't know. He had his fingers in every like pie of every like boy band like popping off.
Yeah,
back
and he
then.
took all their money. Basically,
He took all their fucking money. It's like a crazy story. But these dudes are like so legit about their music. It is not a crass effort for any of them, this reunion. Like, let's just get out there, do our shitty shit. For each of them, it's like, we got to get out there and do our art that makes the people...
Yeah, they like want to do new songs. They like want to keep up their vocal talent. They're doing new choreography.
It's really interesting.
And we find out that they are going to have a residency in Vegas.
At the Planet Hollywood...
Yeah.
In Vegas.
In March and June.
March and June. Got to get out.
Just so you guys know.
I'll get out to that, definitely.
So the guys all walk in to their song, Everybody, and the girls all lose their mind.
I was disappointed that there was no confusion. Like, they read the names on the date card, and on the back of it, it said everybody, and nobody was like, so are we all going to... Are we all going?
Oh, everybody?
Everybody's going on this date, I guess.
So the guys come in. They say, word of advice. No.
All the guys, Luke, Chunk, JC, Jay-Z... Dace,
AJ,
Dax,
J-Ray,
RJ, the phenomenal one,
Howard.
Howie was one of them, I think.
I see. I always get confused because there's an older brother type in both NSYNC and Backstreet Boys.
Damn it!
And I don't know which is which. So
that's okay. Dirty Pop was a good song. That was NSYNC.
That was NSYNC.
That's a good song, though. Because I liked it. Because I tell you why I like that song.
What are we doing?
I'll tell you why I like that song. Because it was them being fucking hard about about their music. They're like, no. This is dirty. This is dirty pop.
People coming around talking about, what was that?
I don't know. I'm a 34-year-old woman. I don't know any of these songs. You know every word to Dirty Pop. That was the thing. It was like, this isn't
when they're gonna fade out. That was one of it.
What's again with this pop life and when they're gonna fade out? Because I listen to that song and I'm like, this is just like any other bullshit song by all these phonies. And they're like, wait a minute. There's an edge to this pop. Dare I say it is dirty pop? This must be pop. And then that's when JT comes in and he's like, Joan. And you're like, ooh, he's going to break off and do this in his first album a lot.
Well, I think every boy band has this grand delusion that they're going to do a Beatles pivot and become this like serious rock group.
Well, I think more so every boy band had this, no, we're hard. You know what I mean? Backstreet Boys came at you out the gate with that shit. Backstreet's back? Where were you? I don't know. But the edge is there. Fuck. 98 Degrees never had that. They just had that one fucking song on the Mulan soundtrack with Stevie Wonder. And it was a good one, but like...
So the women request that the guys sing a little song for them, because not every woman will get to go on this date. And so they sing a little Tell Me Why, which was a classic.
It's a good one.
So on this date, it's going to be a dancing date. They're going to have to learn a dance and then perform it in front of 500 people.
Do you mean, I'm sorry, are you like they're just going to freestyle the dance, or will it be a planned dance?
Planned dance. Oh, man. Sweet Corinne tells us right away she's not a good dancer. And she is telling Nick later on this date, like, I can't do planned dancing. And he looks at her and he's like, planned dancing? And she's like, what's it called when you have to learn? He's like, choreography? She's like, yeah.
It's my favorite song from White Christmas. It's when they pop in, like, they're doing planned dancing. Just kidding, that's the fucking worst scene in White Christmas. Pretty timeless scene. Yes, of course. Choreography. It's a new hot thing. It's 1901.
Corinne's an old soul.
I guess so, yeah. She's not. She has a nanny.
So Jasmine is a professional cheerleader, and so she's kind of the clear favorite because whichever woman gets picked by Backstreet Boys as the best performer gets a little serenade with her and Nick on stage.
Jasmine is actually, I believe, a former Dallas Cowboys cheerleader, and somebody pointed out there was some reality show about the Dallas Cowboys cheerleader, and I don't know fuck all about this show.
I don't either,
know if
but
it was
she was on it apparently.
Yeah, I don't know if it was like an American Idol style, you had to like compete to try to get on the squad, or if it was just like about their life, but she was on this show, so a lot of people were like, oh, I recognize her from that.
So the women show up for this date, and Nick is rehearsing with the Backstreet Boys in the studio. And Nick is wearing a little sleeveless shirt.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
He looks like a Backstreet Boy. Nick is one of the Backstreet Boys. There's a Nick in the Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, Nick Carter.
Yes. Did I say he wasn't?
You fought me so long on Nick
Who's
Carter.
the one in 98 Degrees? The one that married Jessica Simpson? What Nick
Lachey.
Nick Lachey. Fucking, okay, come on. It's just Nick's all over the place. Don't get me started on Aaron Carter. Nick Carter lived in Cincinnati, I think. I definitely saw him at Longworth's, the karaoke bar that I used to go to all the time in Cincinnati. And I just freaked out. I was like, it's him. Finally, it's him. I was so happy. He didn't
Did he do any songs?
He didn't sing, no. He didn't. He left before he saw me do my work up there. I was really disappointed. But I saw him, and it was
Could be you on tour right now with the Backstreet Boys.
Could be me. Tell me why it isn't. That's a little joke I tell to the boys.
Well, it's ain't nothing but a mistake.
It would be a mistake. Oh man, oops, we've gone so long.
Okay, so Jasmine and Danielle are both kind of doing a really great job learning the choreography. Corinne is not, and at a certain point, she becomes overwhelmed and runs to the bathroom and talks to Whitney about how she's super self-conscious because not only did she have that weird whipped cream fiasco, but now she's really bad at this, and she just feels extra self-conscious. And, it's like easy to feel sorry for her in that moment because everybody's had that moment where they're like trying to be a good sport, but they're like clearly the worst person in the room. And then they just, all their fears.
I've never had that.
Are realized. Well, yeah, I guess it doesn't happen to you, but.
Not at dance, especially.
Most of us have had that experience, I would say. And so it's stage time, as they call it in the biz.
I had that moment once. We were just for Jump Rope for Heart. We were doing it. And I was the first one out at the jump rope marathon. Everybody had to go, and it was whoever went the longest got, like, I don't know, a razor scooter.
Is this in elementary school?
Yeah.
That's the last time you were embarrassed?
That was the last time, yeah. Look, I tried to do a trick. I tried to do the crisscross thing.
Oh, Griffin.
Where you slap it to the left and to the right, and then you keep going.
Hubris always gets you.
I hurt myself. I never jump roped again.
That could be your zag for 2017.
No, I can't. I'll never jump rope again.
Okay.
I hate that terrible cord.
Okay, that's fair.
I hate that horrible jumping cord.
So they're on stage in front of the 500
I watched
people.
Tequila and the Bee, and the whole time, every time they had a jump rope scene, I was like, ugh. Turned it off, fast forwarded through it, jumped to the next chapter, skip.
Jump to the next chapter. Okay, so...
Do you know how I know there's a jump rope scene in Tequila and the Bee? And it's the only thing I know. I've seen the movie, but I don't remember that there was jump ropes in it, except for the fact that your dad owns
There
a
it
jump
is.
rope from Tequila and the Bee. Rachel's dad collects movie props, and like he's got some dope stuff, but one of the things he owns is a jump rope from Tequila and the Bee, and it's my favorite part of his collection.
He has props from, I believe, The Lost World,
Jurassic Park 3.
and also Lars and the Real Girl.
Yes.
And also, inexplicably, Aquila and the Bee.
That jump rope. It's one of his Horcruxes. It's a very unassuming Horcrux.
Okay.
It's my favorite thing. I love it. Your dad got me the dope-ass Mego Boba Fett. Your dad is like the best collector ever. It's just this one thing is like... it's a I can't believe we're talking about this. It's so good, though.
Okay. We have to move on. So they go out, they perform their dance.
Does he watch Aquila and the Bee during the jump rope scene? He's just like, I own that. I have that.
We have to stop,
It's a
Griffin.
famous jump rope.
You have to stop ragging on my dad.
I'm not ragging on your dad. I'm saying if I owned the jump rope from Aquila and the Bee, I would have people over to watch Aquila and the Bee all the time. And during the jump rope scene, I'd be like, that's that right there. You see it on the screen. You see it in that box. It's mine. I own that jump rope. Nobody else
What
does.
if in the future the actress that plays Aquila commits a crime and they're like, if only we had her fingerprints? And my dad has to come forward and volunteer the rope. So that
I'm pretty
they
sure it
can-
was actually a double Dutch situation. So her fingerprints would not have been on the jump rope. It would have been her double Dutch assistants. Thank you very much.
Dun dun. Okay,
Public defender, Griffin McElroy.
can we please talk about this show that we came here
I
to
can't.
talk
I'm
about?
fucking crying, babe. I have actual tears going down my face.
Okay. So the women dance on stage, and the Backstreet Boys pick their favorite woman, which is Danielle. And then a really awful moment happens where Danielle and Nick dance on stage while they sing a cappella, Tell Me Why.
They said that there were 500 people in attendance at this concert.
did not
and
look,
I don't
no.
know if it was just the way it was shot.
It was like 97.
It seemed like smaller than an ACL taping.
Yeah.
Like it seemed like somebody's bar mitzvah.
Yeah, it was very small. And so they do a little romantic dance on stage.
Oh shit.
And then it's time for the second location. So at the second location, the women are having drinks. Corinne does the first steal away because she wants to apologize for skipping the rose ceremony, which she thinks that none of the women care about. And then we get a supercut of all of the women caring very much about it. And she talks to Nick for a little bit. They do some kissing. And then she says the line, I made Corinne great again.
Ugh. Yucko.
Real gross.
This would have been shot. Well, I guess this would have been shot like last fall.
I mean, people
late
started
summer.
campaigning
I
a long
guess
time
so.
ago.
Corn. This is the
Yeah.
kind of shit I'm talking about. Corn.
So after this chat where she apologizes for sleeping through the rose ceremony, she then goes and takes another nap. She's very tired all the time.
Was Jamie on this date, or was that at the end? Was she on the other date?
Jamie was not on this date.
Okay, Jamie was on the other date. Okay.
And so Danielle and Nick have another little slow dance moment where Nick compliments her on her dancing and they're kissing and they do some more dancing. And Nick just puts his
Nick
hands
just gets his butt
right on her.
Quota filled. Quota? That's not the word.
Quota.
And also while he's sitting there with her, they kiss, and watch this, if you have it on DVR, watch his free hand as it does this weird orbit around her entire body as he looks for a comfortable place to put it.
Yeah, she's wearing a very short dress and he goes to put his hand
I think he realizes, oh no, I'm almost...
very close to.
Yeah, so I need to move it.
lady
Oh no,
part.
that's still up, maybe higher on the. It ends up on her neck. Okay.
And then a really great moment happens. Corinne wakes up from her nap, and she's talking with the ladies, and then she reveals her relationship with a woman named Raquel, who is her adult nanny, and she details some of the things Raquel does for her. Now, Griffin, do you remember these things? I wrote them down.
She makes coffee for her every morning. She makes her bed every morning.
Yes.
She the way that she phrases the cucumber thing is the most infantile phrase I've ever heard.
Yeah. Cucumber
It was
snack.
She does my cucumber snack.
The cheesy pasta.
She does the cheesy pasta, and I've tried to make the cheesy pasta. I cannot do it as well as Raquel can do it.
And then something called a lemon salad. I don't know what that is.
I guess it's got lemon and garlic and olive oil in it, is what she said.
And then she says something like, because everyone's like, wait, you're 24, this is an adult nanny. And she's like, it makes her happy. And if it makes her happy, who am I?
Who am I to stand in the way of anybody's happiness?
And all the other women just lose their shit. They all run to the bathroom and they're like, what was that?
Nanny's not the right word for what Raquel does, right?
Why doesn't she call her assistant?
Assistant or...
It's such a more dignified way of discussing this.
Yeah. It's,
I guess your assistant doesn't make your bed, typically.
No, I guess not.
Apparently, Raquel also does her laundry.
It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And it was this conversation vaulted off the back of another conversation of them talking about having kids with Nick, and Corinne's like, can you imagine with a kid? I can't have a kid. I am a kid. And they were like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're 24 years old. She's like, yeah, but I have a nanny. What?
Yeah. I can't believe that she shared this information so willingly, and she seemed to do so with no insecurity at all. There was no part of her that seemed remotely embarrassed that this was a fact.
She may just come from a world where it's not weird to have a nanny.
Yeah, do you think she has friends that also have nannies?
What's this cool club?
I mean, here's one way it would work. Now, see, we saw in the pre-show package that this woman is not an elderly lady.
No.
The one way it could work is if it's I don't know, like a Peter Pan thing or something, where they have this woman that's been with them for their whole lives.
An Alfred Pennyworth situation.
I don't know what that reference is.
Batman's.
Oh, okay.
The Batman's has
if
an
she
Alfred.
grew up with this nanny
Yeah.
who continues to look over her, but that is not the case. This woman seems to be approximately her age.
Yeah.
So-
it could be an upstairs downstairs situation. Maybe it's her valet.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
I mean, that's not what it is, though.
It's not, is it? No.
I don't think in Downton Abbey.
It's like, make me my cucumber snack.
Yeah, no.
Fetch me my business papers. I haven't watched that show in a while.
I want the cheesy pasta for our guests.
Make me the cheese. She also, the way she talked about it makes it sound like every day she eats the same thing. Every day she has
especially
cheesy
the
pasta
cucumber
for dinner,
snack.
the cucumber snack for a snack, or her lemon salad for lunch, and coffee for breakfast.
Yeah. So the group date, Rose goes to Danielle, unsurprisingly. And then it is time for the one-on-one date, which is with Vanessa.
This was a good Vanessa episode. This was also kind of a good Nick episode, and I don't know the right way to talk about this, but I feel like after the last couple, I was feeling a little Nick negative, and after this one, I was feeling a bit more Nick positive.
Why did you think it was a good Nick episode?
I just feel like he honestly handled the Liz departure thing pretty well. Not only that, shades of the Axeman there at the end.
But the way he handled the Liz thing was the last episode. That wasn't this episode.
I mean, he talked to the whole house. He did a fucking press conference.
But that was in the first 5 minutes. How does that...
I'll also say this. Him and Vanessa, there's some cute shit happening there. There was some uncomfortable shit happening there.
Yeah.
But there was some real sweet stuff happening.
I think that's more Vanessa than it is Nick.
I think it's both of them. I think
when Nick is around classy ladies, it makes him better.
They're all classy ladies. That's okay. They're maybe not all of them, but like most of them are. It's the. I don't know if the term wifey comes off as like gross. It is literally. I look at it like a dictionary definition that has been established by the show and by Unreal also. But like that's a hard sell to have like a relationship that you, the viewer, even as like the most cynical viewer, can kind of root for and be like, oh, well, this is nice. And I feel like it has to be. I feel like both parties have to be like pretty good at it in order to pull it off. And I don't know. I feel like it was really sweet, the interactions that Vanessa and Nick had. And I think that Nick also gets a little bit of credit for that.
I guess so. I don't know. I wasn't super impressed with Nick by the end of the episode.
The first 2 episodes, I was like, this dude's just being a fuckboy. But in this episode, he was still kind of a little bit.
Yeah, he ends this episode right back where he started.
Sure.
But he has a really great date with Vanessa, so they get this really unique opportunity. Vanessa meets Nick at an airplane hangar and finds out they're going to go in a 0G plane, which, through a series of up and down movements, is a plane that is able to create a zero-gravity environment.
The first week that we had Henry home, we just didn't sleep, period, and would just like spend our nights walking around and watching shit on our TV on Netflix in the bedroom. And one of the things we watched just like inexplicably was a documentary about the making of the OK Go music video where they were up in a 0G plane. And it's really interesting how they do it. How, not the music video, but like how 0G planes work. I would fucking love that shit.
It seems really cool. But I watched Vanessa. So Vanessa kind of struggles, not at first. At first they have this really great time and they're like floating around and having a good time with each other, and then she starts to get really nauseous, and I just had a lot of empathy for her because the pressure change and the weight of it and I think I would have been super sick.
I saw something during this sequence that I've never quite seen before in my life, and it is I don't know that anybody's ever seen anything like it. I have these moments with you sometimes where you had food poisoning recently after we had Henry like a few weeks ago, and you were really sick, and you're my wife, and I love you very much, and I want to take care of you very much, but I also have this moment of uncertainty every time you throw up, where I don't know if you want me in the room with you helping out or not, because I also
definitely not, never, ever.
So I have this, and I feel like this is a very relatable thing. I have this concern, like I should be in there with a cool rag or something, but I also know very much that you don't want me to see you yartzing.
Yeah,
and Nick had this moment with Vanessa as she yartzed into a paper bag. But it was this uncertainty was accentuated by the fact that the two of them were floating in zero gravity. I've never fucking the awkwardness of like, I don't know this person very well. This is our first date. I kind of like her, and she's throwing up, and I want to be supportive, but I also think she needs her space. But also, we are floating weightlessly through the air. It was this fucking insane modifier to this awkward uncertainty, and it was the fucking hardest this show has made me laugh in such a long time, because I felt so bad for both of them, but at the same time it was like it was unimaginable, the awkwardness. It was a whole nother level.
Nick, I mean, I guess there are a lot of ways he could have ended up looking bad. So for example, at a certain point she does start vomiting.
If he was just in the background doing stunting.
Yeah. Like, he couldn't have just gone to the other side of the plane and done somersaults. He had to be supportive. He had to be there for her.
But
he is like sitting on top of
close,
her.
And he's doing this like very fucking casual lean on the ground, just like hand on his cheek, like elbow resting on the plane, like half floating in the air.
She would like warn him. She'd like pull the bag to her mouth, and she's like, oh, I'm going to be sick. And he would be like, right there with his arm around her and like rubbing her foot while she's vomiting.
Again, though, like, what do you do? You're in Vanessa's shoes. You're on the plane, because you already said this would be you. You're on the plane. You're vomiting. I'm up there with you. I
would go to a corner. Like the cameras would have to follow me to a far corner of the plane, and I would be back to the camera, like head facing a wall,
I see.
very privately
You would fucking
vomiting.
throw open the cargo door and just like skydive out.
Yeah.
It's
And I
so-
probably would be saying sentences like, you have to land this plane right now.
It's one of the most fucking incredible things I've ever seen, because I feel like it's also one of the more relatable things that's ever happened on this show. This moment of like, should I go and help her out, or does she need her space in this like vulnerable kind of gross moment? But also we're both fucking flying like Peter Pan through the air.
After she's finished, he like goes so far as to even like kiss her on the mouth. I mean, it is clear that they're like chewing gum. Somehow they have acquired gum. But yeah, he's like, I'm so cool with this. I'm going to put my mouth
I like
in
you
your
even
mouth.
more now.
Thank you so much.
I also told Rachel, like, I love you very much, but if we went up in a 0G plane and we went up with a day full of stunts in mind, and then like any parabolas were denied to us because of your yartzing, I would be very disappointed. Nick hit it very well, but you know my boy was like, I'm gonna do a fucking Tony Hawk 900 up there. And then his plans were probably thwarted. And he made the best call. I think he saved face. He did the best thing that Bachelor could do. I would have been like, babe,
You would have been stunting.
I'd been like, baby, I'm sorry, you're doing so bad over there. Doing my fucking 900 and my Christ air and my kickflip and twist. And like,
Be
all
like,
my
babe,
stunts.
stop vomiting for a
Babe,
second.
check it out.
Look at this stunt I
Check out
just
this
figured
50
out.
nose grind.
So after they come back to land, they have a rooftop date at the tallest building in LA, and they have dinner, and she talks about how important family is to her and how she appreciates that it's important to Nick also, and talks about her grandpa that just passed away a few weeks
So
before.
yeah, at her grandpa's funeral, which was like a few weeks before she left to shoot the show, she talked about like in the like cars driving to the funeral, each of them got a single red rose, and she was like, "That's a sign from my grandpa that he's going to be with me during this journey." It was sweet. Nick seemed very, very affected by it.
And then she asked the question that I think so far we have not seen a woman ask him, which is, quote, "Why would you do this again?" Which I was like, thank you,
Yeah.
Vanessa, for finally asking that question. And then he must have talked for a very long time, because we get this clip about him talking about Andy and how he had feelings for her. And then he doesn't seem to talk about Caitlyn at all. And then he talks about how he's not sure he can trust his emotions. And then he gets a little bit teary, and he feels like his date with Vanessa today really kind of reaffirmed that he can be comfortable, and that he can trust this process again. And he gives her a rose.
It was real sweet.
So then it's time for the group
She's going to
date.
win the show. We both looked at each other and she was like, she's going to, like,
Yeah.
I don't know who, and again, it's really early, and certainly there have been more surprising, like, mid to late season turnabouts. Like, whenever I see stuff like this, I always keep, like, Catherine and Sean in mind, because Catherine did not come out as a front runner until, like, the last 2-3 episodes, and then she, like, crushed it. And they're still together, so obviously that worked. But yeah, I always keep that in mind. But this is such a strong start, and I just don't know who else even has any kind of start at all.
So it's group date time. Group date is Rachel, Alexis, Astrid, Jamie, Sarah, Brittany, and Dominique. And it is a track and field date. And so they're all out on a track, and they're all wearing their athletic gear. There's 7 women there. And Nick says that he competed in track in high school and college, and he's going to have some friends to help out today. And then he brings out 3 very famous athletes, only one of which I recognize because I am not up on athletes. And that athlete was Carl Lewis.
Yes,
There are other women that I know are also famous athletes, but I am not an athlete
you're not a big
enthusiast.
sports show.
No. And the women are informed they're all going to compete in the Nick-athlon,
That's fun.
which involves a long jump, which is set up to look like they're jumping a limo, a high jump where they jump into Nick's face, and a javelin throw where they throw into a heart.
So not a decathlon. Like, it's a fun name. It's a fun play on words.
Yeah.
But there were not even close to 10 events.
And so then the athletes are going to pick the top 3 to compete for the prize, which is just a hot tub with Nick. It's kind of a
This
lame
date, I told
prize.
Rachel, like, Unreal, the dates on the TV show Unreal, which we've talked about before. It's like a fictional scripted TV show on Lifetime about Everlasting, which is like a fictional version of this. Like the dates on it are so cornball, like parody of the dates on this franchise. This date was like straight up like, you have to run and grab the engagement ring and then jump into the hot tub with them. And it's like, fucking come on, dudes.
Yeah, it was
for
lame.
real.
So the women that get picked to go on are Rachel, Alexis, and Astrid. And
The visual of people jumping over the Alexis, first of all, has some fucking hops. The visual of people jumping over that high bar into a gigantic glossy JPEG of Nick is one of the funnier things I've seen this season.
And so the final 3 women are doing like 100-yard dash, and then at the end of it, they have to grab the ring and get to the hot tub. So Rachel is the clear front runner.
Yeah, Rachel kills it, but
she grabs for the ring, it falls off the pedestal, and she has to kind of pivot and turn back. Well, the third place person at this time is
Alexis.
Astrid.
Oh, Astrid, right.
So Astrid takes advantage of this opportunity, goes to reach for the ring. Rachel meets her there, steps on it, smashes it.
It explodes.
And Astrid...
I get them confused all the time, dude.
Astrid picks up the one largest piece of the ring that remains and gets in the hot tub and wins.
And this was presented like super slow-mo. I was actually worried that Astrid had hurt herself because like she had her hand down there when Rachel made this thing explode. But no, she was fine. And then she got in a hot tub and some Lululemons. Henry's in the studio now. Let's see if he cooperates. Or if we have to record the last 10 minutes of this episode tomorrow. That would be such a bummer. So, yes. So,
hot tub.
Yes, Astrid wins the hot tub. Nick actually congratulates her on kind of winning. And then we move on to the next part of the date. Before we do, like, we get some footage of Dominique, who was on the date, and the whole time she was talking about how she just, like, felt like Nick wasn't feeling it, and she hadn't gotten any time, and that she, at the end of this date, she was so disappointed. It was because this is the first date she'd been on, that, like, Nick is giving time to every other woman but her, and that she's, like, feeling pretty dejected about the whole process.
This is kind of a classic, reminds me of the Axeman season, where some of the women just feel like the Bachelor isn't making enough effort to come to them. Like, she felt like Nick wasn't coming to her enough and trying to make an effort.
So she goes into the bathroom, sort of...
When they get to the next location.
When they get to the Big Daddy's antique store, she goes into the bathroom and she is with Rachel. And Rachel's trying to talk her through it. And Rachel's actually being really sweet, but, like, you can tell that Dominique is really upset. And
yeah, they keep saying... The phrase they keep saying over and over again is Dominique is in her own head.
Which, like, yeah, people get like this, like, every season, and she's not wrong, right? Like, she's not, as a viewer at home, I don't know if it's just the edit that she's getting, but it sure seems like she's just, like, not really getting a fair shake.
Yeah, so at some point, so first Nick pulls away, who is it?
She pulls away, he pulls away Astrid, who won, and gives her a fixed version of the ring that got exploded.
Yeah, and while this is happening, Dominique is starting to melt down a little bit.
We get a, like, 3-second long scene with Jamie, who in the last episode she revealed that, in the last episode she revealed that she had dated a woman before, which we talked about how, like, we were a little bit disappointed that they didn't kind of dig into that a little bit deeper. In this literally, like, 3-second long thing, it cuts to a conversation of them, and it's one of those conversations that we talked about last week too, where it's like you talk and you get like one sentence and then it cuts back to more behind the scenes stuff of the more, like, prominent drama of the episodes. But she says that she didn't want him to think that she was just the weird lesbian or whatever, and he's like, oh, I didn't think that about you.
Yeah,
and that's fucking all that we get. Like, it is such a...
Yeah, so we're left speculating, like, was she apologizing for sharing that she
it's a weird thing.
had dated
I'm sure
a
there
woman?
was so much more to that conversation. And I don't know why they would cut all that stuff out. But yeah, that was really, really weird. And again, like, still kind of disappointing. Like, I wanted them to kind of go into that a little bit more And the one very small part of this conversation they showed was her, it looked like apologizing for saying that she had dated a woman before, which was like a pretty, I don't know, it was a pretty whack cross-section for them to pull out.
Can you read my handwriting?
Not at all.
So Dominique decides that she's going to talk to Nick. And I think that she's going to put it more from a I place of, I feel that when you do this. But instead she's like, Nick, I'm going to be honest with you. You had lots of opportunities to come talk to me. You didn't do it. You didn't reassure me. You know, you didn't try to get to know me.
I don't think it mattered how she phrased it. Like, I just don't think Nick was really feeling it. And so
yeah, and so he's listening to her and he's saying, you know what, you're right. My relationships are progressing with some women. They're not progressing with you though. And I think it's only fair to let you know that I don't think it's happening. And
Axeman
send her home.
Cuts her off. And like it's a weird double standard. We can't not celebrate that kind of behavior here. Like if it wasn't popping off there, yeah, I think you got to send the women home if it's not happening. Don't make them wait to the rose ceremony to be sent off in obscurity, like what happened in the first episode when 8 women got sent home and we only thought 2 did because we didn't know anything about them. So that was the group date, and then we cut to the next morning. You think he's going to be a trooper for these last 5 minutes? We'll see, won't we? Chris Harrison walks into the room wearing what, for Chris Harrison, a fairly loud shirt, a fairly loud flannel shirt.
This is the next morning, by the way.
Walks into the room with all the contestants and says, "What's up?" And I was like, what the fuck is going on in this parallel universe? Sorry, Henry. He lets them know that Nick has decided there will be no cocktail party that night. Which is always kind of a mean joke to pull on everybody in the house because then it's immediately
yeah, it's like Nick
with,
knows what he wants to do, and so there's going to be no cocktail party, but there's going to be a pool party. You have 1 hour, go get ready.
Yeah, and immediately everybody Kool-Aid Man busts through the wall to go get their swimmies on
to go do all the waxing that is required.
And then we get a pretty horny montage of just a lot of swimsuits being applied, and then Nick shows up and everybody's take all of your clothes off very, very slow while I put this ointment on you.
Yeah, the women make a point that they've been trapped in this house. All they've had to think about is Nick, and they know this is kind of their last shot. And so it's just a free-for-all. One woman is oiling him up with suntan lotion. The other one there's other stuff that was happening.
A lot of stuff that's happening. So,
yeah.
But Corinne's got a plan. Corinne's got a plan. Corinne has, I guess, bought a bouncy castle. I don't know how she arranged this.
Yeah, I don't know how this came about.
Yeah, but there's a big bouncy castle in the front of the house. She gets Nick into the bouncy castle. They're both jumping around talking about how fucking cool it is and how it's the best thing that's ever happened to them, this bouncy castle, which made me think, for real, guys? It's a bouncy castle.
Meanwhile, all the women are watching.
Yes, and then we get... we're rushing through this mainly because it was kind of... It was literally the last 6 minutes of the show. They rushed through this also. Korn was on top of him in the bouncy castle and kissing him and talking about how he was her prince or whatever. And he did not seem to be complaining about any of this.
Yeah, it was a very sexual encounter, and all of the women are
It was a sexual encounter in a bouncy castle, which is the most Korn thing ever, I feel like. It's a perfect sort of metaphor, I feel for her approach to this television show.
Yeah, I appreciated one of the women confronts Nick. I can't remember. I think it was Vanessa, and says, "I'm not throwing shade at Corinne. I'm throwing shade at you, Nick."
Yeah. So the confrontations that happen after this, everybody's pretty upset. Jasmine G, who had been having some fun, and there was a shot of her kissing his neck and face, and he was like, "What are you doing? Careful! All the women are watching." And then cut to 1 minute later, him making out with Corin in a fucking bouncy castle, and didn't seem to be complaining about that. Raven was the first to come up and be like, "Look, you need to know that something's off with one of the women. It's Korn. She's 24 years old and she has a nanny." And he's like, "What? What's the nanny do?" And she's like, she cooks for her. She doesn't know how to clean a spoon by herself." And Nick was like, okay. And then Vanessa, we end the episode with Vanessa coming up and being like, straight up, like...
Yeah, like no shade
I
at
feel
Corinne.
like I don't know. I'm not judging Corinne.
Corinne does Corinne. I'm looking at you and wondering
I
what
don't
you're
know
doing.
if you're wanting to get married or if you're just looking for somebody to fuck around with.
Yeah,
It's a direct
Vanessa.
quote, and it's like, holy shit.
Yeah, Vanessa.
This is a big subversion of like the wifey archetype, if you want to call it that. I can't think of another time where like a front runner wifey type person, like the day after like their date was like, hey, quit fucking around.
Yeah.
It was fucking radical.
It was because, I mean, she's right. And it's the ultimate conflict of the show, right? Every single Bachelor goes through this, where there are some women that they're very serious about. And then there are some women that they just have a sexual attraction to.
Right.
And they can't really justify the disconnect between their behavior with both women.
Right.
And Vanessa's like, well, what's the deal? Like, are you here for Corinne or are you here for me? And that's our cliffhanger.
Another episode that doesn't end with a rose ceremony, but we've kind of come to expect it at this point. That was the episode. It fucking ruled. This season has been hot fucking fire so far. And yeah, I'm just hoping that the worm doesn't kind of turn here in the next few episodes.
Yeah,
or so.
the teasers kind of suggest that it might.
The next episode, it looks like Korn and Taylor are going to get into a bit of a sparring match, but I will have to see what happens. Sorry, our baby's just like I feel like we're in the movie Speed right now, and we're trying to keep
we're
podcasts
diffusing
at a
a bomb.
certain like tempo to keep him okay. Yeah, thanks for listening. Thank you again to Max Fun for having us. Go check out the Maximum Fun Network at MaximumFun.org. Go join the Rose Buddies Facebook group, unless you're starting your Facebook account today and your job is taste tester at, well, now the baby's in the room, so I can't say it, but Pussy. Big thanks to our sponsors this week, Aquila and the Bee. You can get it now.
Go out and see it.
Go out and get it on a red box for $1.99. You're going to love it. And anything else?
No, that's it. We haven't been to the P.O. Box this week.
I've been in the P.O. Box. Sorry.
Apologies.
Sorry.
I was really excited. There's some great fan art this week that I retweeted on Twitter. Oh, if you ever want to follow us on Twitter.
You retweeted it on Twitter, you said?
Yeah.
Interesting.
If you ever want to follow us, I'm Rachel C. McElroy.
I'm Griffin McElroy, and we also have Rose Buddies on Twitter, but we don't tweet from that very often. Facebook's kind of the home of the Rose Buddies. We have to end the podcast. I'm having an anxiety attack because of the baby.
Okay.
Until next time, see you next week. I'm Griffin McElroy.
I'm Rachel McElroy.
When you're ready.
We did it.
We did it!
Final rose. Stay with us on this journey of joy.
Spoiler alert.
She ends up with Soldier Boy.
Right reasons.